So recently I saw a trend on Instagram, and I think that this was trending on YouTube about a year ago, and it was using Play-Doh on your jelly plate. And the way that you use it is you basically press it into textures that you can't normally use on your jelly plate, and then you can transfer them onto your prints. So I went to Dollar Tree and I found this modeling clay, which is basically Dollar Tree's version of Play-Doh. It was next to the Play-Doh. They actually did have the name brand Play-Doh, but you got 4 ounce Play-Doh versus this pack came with 12 1-ounce packages, so you just got a little bit more clay. Plus I liked that they had the individual cups, so if I were to do a couple of different textures, I could put them in their little cups and I didn't have to use just the one. So I'm just playing around with this technique to see what kind of things. I actually have a few things that I wanted to do the texture on because I thought these would look really cool on a gel plate, but I can't really put them on my gel plate. So to roll this Play-Doh out, I actually have clay tools for polymer clay. So I have the little acrylic roller and I'm using that to roll out my clay, but you could use your brayer if you don't have a clay tool and you wanted to try this. And then I have a scraper tool. It's basically a long razor blade. I made these little clay holders for it just so I could grip onto it, and it works great. I'm working on a glass mat and I can roll it out and then use my blade and make it so that it's not sticking to the glass mat anymore. And then I can also trim down the edges to make it whatever shape I want it to be. In this case, I wanted to go with a nice and clean shape, so I'm making it a rectangle. After I was done making my rectangle by cutting off all 4 edges, I just kind of smoothed it out and made it, at this point I was being very precise, but I didn't continue doing that. I did take it over to my Fireplace screen and I pressed it in. Interestingly, it didn't give me the texture that I thought I was going to get from this. I pressed in nice and firmly. It didn't stick to the fireplace, but it ended up making these kind of like lines, jagged looking lines. I was expecting X's or, something more of like a diamond shape, but that's not what happened. So that was very interesting to see how that texture came across. So I am going to just start with this really pretty aqua blue color. And once I've rolled that out, I ended up brayering on my Play-Doh just a little bit as I was brayering onto my brayer off sheet. I forgot I had it laying on there, but I will go in and just take my Play-Doh and kind of create a little pattern with this texture. Now, one thing, I was doing a little bit of studying on the Play-Doh on jelly plate with people who've done it before. One thing that was mentioned is some say that the regular Play-Doh, the actual brand Play-Doh, is a little bit softer than this one. I actually thought I might like the firmer one better anyway. I don't have a comparison for you because I did not pick up the Play-Doh, but I thought that this rolled out just fine, and the firmness of it held its shape really well. It also removes the paint nicely, so as long as you're pressing down, it will remove it off. And I washed my paint in a container that I had to the side with some water and soap, and that way I could rinse it and lay it out on some paper towels. Other people who've done this technique, they've actually let the paint stay on the Play-Doh and then they just kind of mix it in with the Play-Doh and it just kind of changes the color of it. I thought I'd see if I could wash it off, if it affected it at all, for those of you that are a little more, precise or want to keep your supplies clean. I don't know if I'll continue to do that. If I continue doing this Play-Doh technique, I may try letting the paint stay on it and see if that affects it at all. But putting it in the water didn't affect it. It was a little bit slimy feeling, but once I laid it out on my paper towels and it dried, it just felt just the same way it did before I had washed it. So here I had used the matte watercolor gel paint for that blue color, and then over the top I used just 2 shiny metallic paints. It's a pink and a light gold, and they make an orange color in the middle. So I really love these colors. Some people ask me, how do I pick my colors, and like what's my thought process behind it. Look how pretty these colors are together. A lot of times I go with what I know. They're either colors I've used together in the past in my gel prints that I know I love, that they look good together, and other times I'm just experimenting and I'm really not sure. So for this next print, I wanted to use these are clay textures from Hobby Lobby, and this particular one that looks like pebbles, I knew that I wouldn't be able to get the full effect if I just laid this texture plate on the gel plate. So I wanted to be able to capture kind of the 3D quality of these stones, and using the Play-Doh was the perfect way for me to be able to do that. Now this is my first time rolling onto this little texture plate, so as I was rolling it out, it was moving, and you see it made this really interesting kind of bubbly thing at the end here, just because it kept stretching as I was brayering it, and I decided I'd keep it. It wasn't the exact impression of what you would get from the rocks, but I thought it looked neat and it would make a cool impression, so I just left it like that. I'm pulling up this first print that I had done, and I think the colors on this one, they're so pretty. That aqua color blue, again, that is the matte color. No shine to that one. And then you can see the nice shine of the pink and the gold and how they blend together in the middle. And it's just this really pretty color. So next I'm going to use 3 colors that go well together, and I'm going to make an ombre. I'm using the same watercolor gels from Folk Art, and these I'm just going to blend until I get a nice even ombre of color. I'm going to press in my texture. So for this one I also didn't worry about it being so precise or perfectly square or rectangle. I thought this one would be more interesting with whatever shape it came out looking like, just because it was these kind of like pebbly shapes. And I'm glad I did that because it kind of lines up next to each other real nicely. And again, I'm just pressing in. Wherever I press is where the paint will be removed, but I'm careful not to press too hard because you don't want to squish it. And you still want to keep the shape of the rocks. I didn't use any time extender for my paints, so it's just the regular whatever paint that I put down, acrylic paint. I worked pretty quickly. That was real time, and it all pulled up before it dried. But I did let it dry between coats, so this is going to be my shiny layer. This time I'm using an aquamarine, and I was about to use this gold color, but I changed my mind. I was looking at that pink, and I really love how the pink looked. And I knew that this would make a purple color when these two mix, so I decided to go with the pink and the blue. I also decided on the pink in that area because I had yellow on the other side, and that would be tone on tone, and I really wanted something that was going to stand out from that color. I'm just using an 8.5 by 11 piece of copy paper, and this time I didn't cut it. I'm just using one side, flipping it, and then pulling a print on the other side. So you can see my 2 prints here. And here you see that pink against the yellowish orange. It really pops. If I had used the yellow, it just wouldn't have been as much of a pop. And I really love how these colors turned out. So for this next one, another situation where I couldn't really get to the texture on the inside of this little brick piece if I were to just lay it onto the gel plate. So this is a great way for me to capture that texture on these bricks. And I did learn from my last time, I just slowly rolled out and I didn't keep rolling back and forth. And then I pressed in with my hands once it was in the spot where it was going to be, just to press it down, because I don't know if you can tell, but there's some interesting texture in each of these little brick pieces. I really wanted to get that texture to come through on the Play-Doh. I think I did a pretty good job there. And now I'm going to put paint on my gel plate for the next round. This one I'm going to use a gray, ocean wave blue, and blue lagoon. And I'm going to blend those out and make a really pretty blue ombre, blue to light gray. Same thing, I'm just going to use my little brick pieces here to remove the paint from the plate. Let me know in the comments, what would you use around your house as a texture for your Play-Doh if you were to try this? I'm curious what other people would think of. Anywhere I had like gaps of paint still left, I just pressed the texture in the center of those areas. I was able to fill the whole background with the texture. I did let that dry, and now I'm going in with 3 metallic colors. It's the pink color, a coral color, and the light gold. And again, I chose these colors because I knew they would stand out from the blue background. And you can see those colors do pop out from the blue just because they're nice and shiny, and having that orange color in the middle looks really great because that's a complementary color to the blue. Next, for my last print for today, I'm using this Yankee candle holder that I have, and I thought it had a really cool texture. This was another thing that I can't really put on my gel plate, plus I don't want to ruin it and get it full of paint, so I'm going to use my Play-Doh, and I'm just rolling out the Play-Doh gently. I am rolling back and forth, but I'm not letting the Play-Doh stretch. I'm focusing more on pressing it in than rolling it out. Once I have it pressed in pretty well, I can use my hands to go in a little bit more, but in this case I just pulled it right off, and it did a really good job of capturing the design. A new set of colors. I realized I hadn't used much green, so I'm going in with some yellow, a light green color, and a blue, and I'll blend those out, and it'll make a really nice blue, green, yellow ombre. This texture turned out really cool. I would definitely use this one again. I just love this. It almost looks like, I don't know, summery. It looks very summery to me. Tiki bar, I don't know. I just think it looks so pretty. Plus the colors of these prints feel very summery to me. I love these paints, these watercolor gel paint colors. They're so pretty. So these, for the metallics on this one, I'm using 3 colors for my Master's Touch. I had a set of metallics, and it was a pink, a purple, and a blue, and there are a lot more colors in this set, but these 3 colors, I blended them out, and I think they look really nice together. And I am going to use those 3 colors to pull this print. And here we go. Again, this is such a fun one. I don't know why, it just definitely has tiki vibes for me, summery vibes, the pretty colors of the blues and the greens, and almost like sunset colors in the background. I think it turned out so pretty. The blue one just has a totally different feel with the bricks, but again, just changing up the colors will change up how that one looks. I love how this aqua color looks against the pink and that shiny gold. The orange here with the purple and blue in the background, I think those look great, pop off of each other. I really do like the texture on this one too. Turned out really neat. And then of course this one, I think this one is my favorite, the one with the candle holder print. I think this one turned out really so much fun. I love the colors. Everything about that one turned out so nice. So those are my 4 fun prints using Play-Doh as my texture. If you've not tried it before, it's quite fun. It isn't even very messy. The messiest part to me was it left a little bit of kind of Play-Doh residue on my glass plate, but that cleans up very easily. And when I was washing off the paint, just that process of washing it in my little basin, I have just a little foil basin that I fill with water, putting it onto the paper towel. That was maybe a little bit messy, but if I did it while the paint was still wet, I didn't have any issue with the paint coming off. So otherwise, I think that these turned out so fun, and I can definitely see myself looking around my house thinking, like with baskets and different textures that I see, that I might want to try using my Play-Doh on some other textures to try to capture on my gel plate. So hopefully this inspired you. If you haven't tried this, I would definitely recommend picking some up at Dollar Tree, or I think Walmart has them really cheap, Play-Doh. Or if you have kids, you might already have some on hand, and they might have already made it dirty, so you wouldn't be ruining it if you add paint to it. So hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Happy crafting.